All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, all you magnificent melon heads of the world, and happy Friday, everybody. Today is January 31st, 2025. Our top story this morning is that thing that has been going on that everybody knew has been going on, and yet a lot of people have pretended hasn't been going on. I haven't, but a lot of people have. Now that it's created this great big giant problem and wiped out trillions of dollars, now they're like, oh, maybe we should investigate this thing. And of course, by now you probably know, you read the title, I'm talking about DeepSeek. And where did DeepSeek get their chips? We know where they got their chips. They got their chips from NVIDIA. The question is, how did they get their chips? You're not supposed to be selling them to Chinese companies. Remember that whole export controls thing? Because, like China is our largest geopolitical adversary, and we hope it doesn't happen, but we might end up in the whole like World War III thing and thousands of people dying, fighting over Taiwan. And our military is currently being completely redesigned in order to fight China, and theirs is being completely redesigned to fight ours. And AI has multiple military applications. Yeah, don't sell this stuff to China. That's been the law of the land for well over a year. And yet somehow DeepSeek got their hands on all these chips. And everybody denied this was going on. This was, here we go. We're going to do this early. This was just a Twitter rando conspiracy theory right up until last week when DeepSeek was released. And then all of a sudden, we don't need this anymore. All of a sudden, all these tech CEOs, like the Scale AI CEO, he's on TV, he's saying, oh, everybody knows DeepSeek has 50,000 H100s. Well, how come when people like Kakashi on X and Just Dario and me, how come when we were saying this a week ago, it was a paranoid conspiracy theory? And now that they've actually done something with those chips and caused irreparable harm, now they're like, oh, yeah, we all know they have H100s. Wow, that you guys are singing a different tune very quickly here. What happened? What changed? Anyway, look, we all know they've been selling these chips. Like, just give you a case in point. 22% of NVIDIA's sales are to Singapore. 22%. All right. If that many GPUs were running in Singapore, it would be more power than the combined demand of the entire freaking city-state. You would have to bulldoze all of Singapore and build nothing but data centers and run them right there in order for all these sales. Now, NVIDIA's out and they're trying to clarify. They're like, oh, no, it's just our billings are going to Singapore. That doesn't mean our product is shipped to Singapore. Yeah, we know. They're billing it in Singapore and they're ending up in China. And it's ridiculous. It is so grotesque. You can see these things for sale on eBay, on Alibaba, on madeinchina.com. There's Chinese entrepreneurs are bragging about and doing unboxing videos of their freaking super micro servers full of H100 GPUs. Billions of dollars of this stuff. And NVIDIA is just like, well, we insist our customers follow the law, and therefore we've done nothing wrong. Well, you can insist all you want when you know they're breaking the law and you know these things are going to China. If you still sell them to them anyway, guess what? That makes it your fault. And Jensen Huang, he's on his way to the White House, apparently. This just came in on Twitter a few minutes ago. Apparently, Jensen Huang has been summoned or is having a meeting with the president today. Now, I don't know, maybe they're going to get together and talk about Project Stargate and all the wonderful billions of dollars that they're just going to light on fire, kind of like the Joker sliding down his big pile of money because gasoline and dynamite are cheap. Maybe that's what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to piss away more CapEx, or maybe President Trump is going to look at him and say, hey, you freaking traitor, how come you're selling billions of dollars worth of this stuff to our largest geopolitical rivals, and they're going to use it to probably program drones to try to sink our carriers? Oh, whoops. That's kind of, I don't know, just hurry up, go sign some boobs or something. I don't know, change the subject really fast. Look, guys, we've all known this has been going on. For whatever reason, the financial press has totally ignored this story. Now it has swum up and bitten them in the, you know what, we're quoting Jaws here. And now they're all like, well, maybe we should investigate. Investigate what? They're already illegal. We know they've been doing it. Either prosecute them or don't. All right. Like, spare me the, well, gosh, we're going to try to figure out what happened. We know what happened, guys. We know what happened. Also going on, we've got a lot of tariff talk this morning. 25% tariffs on $900 billion worth of goods coming in from Canada and Mexico. They're not in place yet. the deadline is tomorrow. President Trump had a big speech last night, and he just basically reiterated that come Saturday, 25% tariffs are going on. Now, he left open some interesting questions. Are these tariffs going to apply to gold? We don't know. Gold reaching an all-time high this morning. It's still draining from London. You've got, bars are flowing from London to New York. You've got a huge premium between spot and the front month contract has been blowing out. Spot gold broke $2,800. I've got analysts are saying $3,000 is in sight yet. I mean, we're just going to blow through 28 and 29. And we're already talking 3,000. That's going on as people are trying to bring bars into the United States because, think about things like the Royal Canadian Mint, right? If your gold was refined in Canada and you're buying a gold bar, it's a Canadian product. Does that 25% tariff apply to it? That's a lot of money for a gold bar. You can talk in what, like a lot of money. Don't make me do math this early in the morning. It's a couple $100 an ounce, a difference in the gold price. So they're trying to get that stuff into the U.S. before the tariffs. It's causing a shortage of physical gold in London. Now, I don't know, guys, if this shortage in London and this drain on metal, is it going to last beyond the tariffs? Is this just a one-off? Is it going to be a one and done? Is Saturday going to come and then maybe the price just drops right back down? It's possible this could happen. So be careful, guys. If you're out there trying to be cute and use these levered financial products masquerading as gold investments, just be careful. A lot of people get wiped out doing that, chasing stories like this. That being said, I still like the shinies. The other question, is oil going to be applied? Are these tariffs going to apply to oil? We get a lot of oil from Canada. Now, if we end up applying these tariffs on oil, it's probably not going to drive oil sharply higher because we'll just probably buy more imported oil from tankers, and the Canadians will probably just export more oil on tankers. So, like the net effect, more maybe a couple of cents in one direction on a barrel of oil, but probably not all that big. The real loser is going to be U.S. pipeline operators, or the ones who pipe it down from Mexico to U.S. refineries. They'll be the ones who really lose if these tariffs do apply to oil. Look at this strong arm negotiation tactics. I'm personally not a big fan of tariffs. It's a tax on U.S. consumers. The idea is to get them to level the playing field on trade. I'm in favor of that. The idea is to reshore manufacturing and production to the United States. I'm in favor of that as well. However, the tariffs and the taxes will get here first, which means the higher prices will get here before any of those potential benefits arrive. So make no mistake, guys, costs are going to go up with this. Also, we've got Apple earnings are out last night, and they're calling it the best quarter ever, highest revenue ever for Apple. Congratulations, inflation is helping your sales. But when you take away the top-line revenue number, iPhone sales down 1% year over year. Uh-oh, so much for that artificial Apple intelligence upgrade supercycle. Nope, never happened. We were doubtful of that all along on this channel. It was just more of that silly AI hype. But Apple has had a monster run over 2024. Their stock was way up. And, it's down a double-digit % year to date, but not nearly as much as it ran up on the story. Apple stock is up a little bit this morning. I think a lot of this negative news was baked in. There's been a lot of analyst report over the last few weeks we've talked about on this channel saying these iPhone sales were down. The actual number was 11% decline in iPhone sales in China. That's roughly in line with some of the numbers that we've seen from Canalys and some of these other researchers. Now, that was partially offset by growth in Mac, and services growth looked really good. So their overall revenue was up because the iPhone decline was more than offset by growth in those categories. Wearables remains another weak spot. The Apple Vision Pro was just like Meta's Ray-Ban glasses, a big waste of money, and people kind of laughed at that product. It was never really going to do anything. We also got Chevron and ExxonMobil earnings were out this morning. They were both, the stocks are moving plus or minus 1% in either direction. Generally speaking, lower oil prices hurt their revenue growth, partially offset by increases in production. Not a lot to see on those. We got PCE inflation this morning, 2.6% was the headline year-over-year number for personal consumption expenditures inflation. That is the Fed's preferred method of inflation, still well above their arbitrary 2% target. Look, like we've ended our hiking cycle. We've begun and paused a new easing cycle and still gotten nowhere near that 2% inflation target. WTF, Fed. Anyways, that 2.6%, that was in line with expectations, up slightly from 2.4% last month. On a month-over-month category, 0.3% in line with expectations, also up from 0.1 last month. Core inflation was 2.8, again, largely expected and flat. Now, this is interesting. Core inflation 2.8, headline 2.6. That means food and energy actually took inflation down a little bit. That's interesting to look at that. On a month-over-month basis, we had 0.2% core inflation in line with expectations, up slightly. We also had some interesting spending and income data came out along with PCE. Personal spending rose 0.7% in December, even though personal income rose 0.4%. So let's do the math, guys. If you spent 0.7% more, but you earn 0.4% more, what makes up the difference? If you said debt, if you said credit cards, congratulations, 100 million melon coin for you. Americans continue to put the cost of inflation on the credit card. The rate of inflation continues to exceed the Fed's arbitrary target, and right now the Fed is doing nothing about it. So enjoy that one. And a little bit of the slow march to World War III news. We've had another ship has been seized in the Baltic Sea. Remember, guys, we've had story after story about ships just dragging anchors, cutting cables and pipelines. This is the new method of sabotage. This is how we fight wars without actually shooting each other. And just a reminder, guys, sooner or later, this is going to end up with a boat getting attacked or sunk or boarded or some kind of major geopolitical incident involving a ship. And look, history is full of examples of ships starting wars. The Maine, the Lusitania, the Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, we don't need to use our imagination. There's plenty of examples to show how this could get out of hand really fast. So, and just a reminder, even though things appear to be somewhat cooling off in the Middle East, and there's even talk of peace talks in Ukraine and Russia, things on the open seas are still quite a mess. Our leaders are not done making things worse. Why don't we shrink my big melon of a head and let's see what's going on in the markets this morning? Don't forget that like button while we're doing this. And hey, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you can come have the coffee with the melon heads every morning. Right now, the S&P 500 is up 20 points or 0.32% higher, although we got some red candles in just the last couple minutes here. It seems like we're giving back some of those pre-market gains. The Dow, same story, up 88 points, but in the process of giving back all those gains at the moment, 0.2% higher. The NASDAQ is up 138 points, 0.64% higher, leading the way. I guess those Apple earnings are helping the NASDAQ a little bit this morning. On the dollar front, the DXY is up sharply here, 108.43. That is up 27 basis points or a quarter of a point. So we're seeing that the Dixie is strengthening here in the last couple of minutes while stocks move lower. I'm guessing we've had some kind of comment from the president on tariffs in the last few minutes. Don't quote me on that one. That's just me hypothesizing. Now, we did get this one from the president yesterday. Pay attention, all you BRICS guys out there. This one just came in, the idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. All caps, mean business. This is from President Trump on Truth Social yesterday. We are going to require a commitment from these seemingly hostile countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty U.S. dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful U.S. economy. He paints a picture with his words. He loves his adjectives over there. There is no chance that BRICS will replace the U.S. dollar in international trade or anywhere else, and any country that tries should say hello to tariffs and goodbye to America. Now, look, guys, 100% tariffs on any BRICS country. That's like 40% of the world's population. I think that includes China. You're going to put 100% tariffs on everything we buy from China? Walmart might not like that. People that shop at Walmart might not like that. You're going to put 100% tariffs on everything we get from Brazil, from South Africa, there's like another dozen countries in line to join BRICS. It's possible that, it's not possible. I would say it is probable that this never happens. This is just threats, bluster. He's trying to get other countries to think twice about joining BRICS. That being said, he loves his tariffs and he will use them in the blink of an eye. And, if you're dealing with the U.S. diplomatically, that needs to be part of your calculus for the next few years. Looking over at the bond market here, we've got the 1-month treasury, or let's say yields are higher pretty much across the board here. The 30-year, 4.766, about 1 point higher. The 10-year, 4.521, also about 1 point higher. The 2-year, 4.207, 1 point higher. And the 1 month is 4.329. That's higher by a half a point. Very little movement in yields this morning, even though we have a suddenly strengthening dollar and looks like stocks heading lower, although still in the green. Now, in the commodities board, check out spot gold. I just love it. 2805.80. Spot gold is over $2,800, an all-time high. We've even got the April futures contract at 2847. Spot gold up 11, almost $12, 0.4% higher here. So congratulations to the stackers. Your patience is being rewarded. Silver, meanwhile, sitting it out this morning, although it had a great day yesterday. Spot silver is at 31.56. That's down a dime here, or 0.28%. But you will notice that the March silver contract at 32.63, that's about $1.08 higher than the spot price. That's actually up 13 cents. So you can kind of see here the delta between the front month contract and the spot price. I believe this is being driven by what's going on with the tariff threat and with the repatriation of metal. People are being paid a premium to hold the 1 month out futures contract versus take the physical for delivery. So the banks are paying people to not take the physical metal here, hence this big blowout and the difference. Also, copper is down a little bit, 0.9% lower this morning. Platinum is up 0.5%. Palladium is up 2%. WTI crude is pretty much unchanged here, down a penny, $72.72. Now, let's talk a little bit about tariffs since it is affecting commodities here. Trump barrels toward tariff showdown with top trade partners. This one is in Bloomberg this morning. President Donald Trump is poised to unleash his first wave of tariffs Saturday, sending foreign governments and businesses rushing to skirt potential duties and prepare for retaliation. The targets are unlikely ones, Canada and Mexico. I don't know why that's unlikely. He's been saying it for months. Anyway, the two biggest buyers of U.S. goods. Trump has pledged 25% tariffs on about $900 billion in goods from both nations, whose trade surpluses with the U.S. have long chafed the president. Trump on Thursday vowed to follow through by his self-imposed February 1st deadline. That's tomorrow morning, though the mercurial president has been known to change his mind. Mercurial, they're using their thesaurus over at Bloomberg this morning. The scope of the duties also remained unclear. Trump declined to say if they would apply to Canadian oil imports, for example. Oil and gold are two big questions here on these tariffs. And look, it's moving gold. We got this one in Reuters on the same subject here. Gold hits record high as tariff uncertainty sparks safe haven rush. Gold prices scaled an all-time high on Friday, briefly touching $2,800 as market participants rushed to the safe haven asset after President Donald Trump reiterated his tariff threats. Spot gold steadied at $27.95 per ounce by 11:18 Greenwich Mean Time. After hitting a record peak of $2,800, we're above that level now. Prices rose more than 6% for the month and 1% for the week. Now, there's a pretty interesting quote down here. Data on Thursday showed U.S. economic growth slowed in the fourth quarter, but consumer spending increased at its fastest pace in nearly 2 years. If the combination of high inflation and sluggish growth unfolds, then the $3,000 level will appear increasingly plausible, said Ricardo Evangelista, senior analyst at Active Trades. And what really caught me about this one, guys, they're talking about if the combination of high inflation and sluggish growth unfolds. Hey, J-Pow, there's your stag and there's your inflation. I'm just saying, they're not using the word here. They're not using the inflation word or the stagflation boogeyman word here, but that's what they're saying, slowing growth and high inflation. That Keynesian thing that is not supposed to be possible. There they are. They're warning about it. Stagflation on the horizon. Anyways, meanwhile, Bitcoin this morning, $104,647 as priced on Coinbase. We are essentially unchanged from yesterday, down about $100 from where we were. All things considered, what's happened in tech over the last couple of days, Bitcoin has held up remarkably well. All things considered, you'd expect a big sell-off in tech to lead to a big sell-off in Bitcoin. It did briefly look like that on Monday, but it quickly bounced back, and we're pretty much right back to where we were before the DeepSeek story broke. And speaking of DeepSeek, here's the top one this morning. U.S. probing if DeepSeek got NVIDIA chips from firms in Singapore. Spoiler alert, they definitely did. I don't have the proof of that. It's just painfully obvious to anybody who's looking at the data. NVIDIA says, though, it insists that customers comply with laws. Oh, that's very good. You know, the company with a documented history of accounting fraud and making materially misleading statements says, don't worry, we tell our customers don't break the law. I'm glad we cleared that up. Let's move on to other more productive things then. Singapore accounts for about 20% of NVIDIA's revenue. U.S. officials are probing whether Chinese AI startup DeepSeek bought advanced NVIDIA chips semiconductors through third parties in Singapore, circumventing U.S. restrictions on sales of chips used for artificial intelligence tasks. That is according to people familiar with the matter. These guys get around. DeepSeek recently released a chatbot called R1 that in some respects performs as well as comparable tools from the U.S., suggesting that China is further ahead in the AI race than previously believed. Some prominent engineers have marveled at R1's capabilities, and DeepSeek has touted the tool's low cost and efficiency, prompting rivals to speculate whether it was built on the back of Western technology. It almost certainly was. Officials in the White House and Federal Bureau of Investigations are also trying to determine whether DeepSeek used intermediaries in the Southeast Asian nation to purchase NVIDIA chips that the U.S. has banned from sale to China, and said the people who requested anonymity to relay private conversations. Now, look, guys, this means if this is true, and you have to be a complete imbecile at this point to think it's not true. Maybe I'll make a video with the just ridiculous mountain of evidence that shows these chips have made it into China in huge quantities. But this also means that these magnificent revenue numbers, all of these awesome earnings beats from NVIDIA quarter after quarter, have at least been partially driven by illegal sales to China. And if we are cracking down on that, number one, that could mean possibly criminal repercussions for NVIDIA if it finds out that they knowingly did this. And let's be honest, guys, NVIDIA is not stupid. There are a lot of things, but they're not stupid. They know what's going on here. And it also means that those sales could potentially end, which means an end to those magnificent growth numbers from NVIDIA. And look, a lot of these NVIDIA bros have been saying, oh, of course they have NVIDIA H100 chips. You know, they bought them through Singapore, and that's why this is bullish for NVIDIA. Guys, it just doesn't work that way. I don't know what to tell you. Look, here's the data. This is from NVIDIA's most recent quarter, ended October 24th, 2024. This second row here, let's zoom in a little bit. These are their revenue numbers. Here's Singapore, the second biggest number in the world behind the United States. All right, the largest economy in the world is the United States. The second largest economy is China. And yet, for some reason, the second largest billing location for NVIDIA is Singapore. It's almost like the second largest economy in the world is hiding in Singapore. Hey, I just throw that out there. Look, Singapore's numbers in 2023, they were $2.7 billion. In 2024, they were $7.7 billion. They nearly tripled. No other country posted increases like that. Nobody else. All right. You had some big increases in other countries, some big increases in Taiwan, even a slight increase in China. They're buying the low end neuter chips. You did have a big jump in the United States, but Singapore, it's one city. All right. Obviously, all these chips are not going to Singapore, and NVIDIA is just like, well, the billing address said Singapore, so it's clearly not China. Our work here is done. We know it's going to China, guys. Anyways, let's shift gears here. I might have more to say about that later today, but it's pretty obvious that they've been breaking export controls. The question is, what is the government going to do about it? Apple's best quarter ever leaves much to be desired. Overall revenue may have reached record levels, but big questions lurk about large parts of the iPhone maker's business. This one in Bloomberg this morning. Apple described its latest results as the best quarter ever, but that's only true if you stop reading near the top of the press release, as most people do. Overall revenue may have reached record levels, but big questions lurk about parts of the iPhone maker's business. First and foremost, the artificial intelligence sales super cycle predicted to follow the launch of the first AI-enhanced iPhone has not materialized and shows no sign of showing up soon. The iPhone missed expectations in the fiscal first quarter, ended December 28th, falling 0.8% from the same period a year earlier to $69.1 billion compared with $71 billion anticipated by Wall Street. A nearly $2 billion decline in iPhone sales from a year ago. And remember, this is what they said was, oh my God, this product is amazing and it's going to be an upgrade super cycle and there's so much pent-up demand for iPhones. Nope, none of it happened. That was all just hype on CNBC and Bloomberg. Go figure. That's not what investors thought would happen following the launch of the company's first AI-enabled phone. That launch was imperfect. Apple didn't have the features ready in time, leading to some inventive marketing workarounds. Billboard said the latest iPhone was built for Apple Intelligence rather than built with Apple Intelligence. Even when features started to be rolled out, users didn't experience anything life-changing that would tempt enough people on the fence about an upgrade. And geez, if this doesn't perfectly summarize my entire philosophy and approach to artificial intelligence during this whole stupid bubble, I don't know what does. Now, another trouble spot for the innovation front was the revenue decline from wearable segments, which includes the new Vision Pro headset. I love that thing. Sales were down year on year by 1.7%. Of course, the Vision Pro was never going to be a big seller, but the overall segment drop stood out because it includes AirPods and Apple Watch, both popular Christmas gifts that were given an upgrade last year. Things might pick up in 2025, though, with the launch of the iPhone SE. That's their more budget-friendly option. Bloomberg's Apple beat reporter Mark Gurman predicted the device will, at $500, attract Android users who want a cheaper way into the largely superior iOS experience. His words, not mine. This, in turn, offers a chance to bump service revenue further as those new customers fork out for Apple TV or storage and start to use in-app payments. The services business was a highlight for this quarter, up 14% year over year. Services is becoming a bigger and bigger portion of Apple. They are making serious money off of services. All these little Apple TV, cloud storage, all the little pay for, $1 a month upgrades, they're adding up to serious money for Apple here. Bigger picture, the volatile state of Apple's business in China continues to defy prediction. Sales were down 11%, attributed to inventory challenges. Apple said, yeah, we need less inventory because people are buying fewer phones. I don't know why people bought the stock on this inventory talking point from Tim Cook. He's just talking his way out of a bad quarter here. Cook said the company was monitoring but would not discuss further. What happens to Apple's China business is anyone's guess. I can tell you it's probably going to keep going down. Apple stock, though, doing pretty good here this morning. Let's refresh because the opening bell is ringing. It looks like it's up about 3.75% here, $246.95. That's up about $9 this morning. All things considered, that's a pretty good results for Apple, at least on the stock performance. Looks like it's going to give back some of that here, but pretty good numbers for the stock, all things considered. Let's talk about what's going on in the oil front. We'll do this one quick. ExxonMobil and Chevron see another earnings dip in Q4, but report production increases. And guys, that's pretty much the story here. We're not going to get into the numbers and the specifics of things. Look, earnings were down, but production was up. So what does that tell you? That tells you margins are not very healthy in the oil field right now. And that also tells me that if we see things like production increases from the Saudis, if they start flooding the market with oil, it's really going to hurt the U.S. majors because we're already seeing rising production, slumping earnings, that's margin compression. That means the market cannot easily absorb a lot of new supply. Right now, ExxonMobil stock is, let's refresh this because the opening bell rang. ExxonMobil is up 0.25% to 109.84. And we've got Chevron is actually down a couple of percent here, $2 or 2.56%. That's down about $4. So neither of the oil majors is doing particularly well. Let's talk about the inflation front here, the stag and deflation. You can see it in the economic data this morning. PCE price index annual change in the United States increased 2.6% in December. That is up from 2.4% in November. So even though we're in a cutting cycle, right? Look, guys, inflation, it was on its way down. And then September comes around. What happens in September? Oh, the election isn't going the way we want it to. Quick, panic cut rates, 50 basis points, and inflation starts rising. Isn't it funny how that works? It's almost like they made inflation worse for the average person because they didn't like a candidate. Oh, boy. Yeah, well, maybe we'll just move right on to that. And then they're like, oh, give us a talking point, Mr. Chairman, that we can beat over the head with Mr. Orange. Oh, my God. The things at the Fed are just getting worse by the day. Let's look at the month-over-month number. PCE Pricely Index monthly change in the United States increased 0.3% in December from 0.1% in November. Go figure, inflation went up again. Now, the month-over-month numbers don't look quite as bad, but again, guys, trending in the wrong direction. They were falling for most of the year. Then we decided we're going to start cutting, and now they're heading higher again. That 50 basis point cut in September was a monumental mistake. Looking at core PCE here, we've got core PCE in the United States remained unchanged at 2.8% in December. So that's 3 consecutive months of core. Now we had a higher baseline number. The headline number went up. Core stayed the same. That means energy price declines somewhat offset the increase in core in inflation elsewhere. Also, what do we got? We have got core PCE month over month in the United States increased 0.2% in December from 0.1% in November. So yeah, core, not so worried about that one there. 0.2 versus 0.2 versus 0.1. Guys, inflation, we're not even talking about it here. Everybody's like, oh, 2.4, it's no big deal. 2.8, it's no big deal. Remember, the goal is 2. All right. How long has it been since the Fed hit their goal? What has it been? About 3 years now? 3 years since we had a number under 2%. Tell me, in your jobs at your company, if you go 3 consecutive years of monthly data points missing your goals, what would happen to you? Would you still have a job? Would you still be making the same money? Just throwing that out there. The Fed has now missed their target for what, like 36, 38 data points in a row? I haven't actually counted, but at some point they need to be like, wow, you guys kind of suck at the whole dual mandate thing. Maybe you want to change your approach. I just throw it out there. Meanwhile, personal spending in the United States increased 0.7% in December over the previous month. Americans spent up in December, 0.7% increase following a 0.6 increase in November. Americans continue to spend. Now, did our earnings go up? Yes, they did, but they didn't go up that much. Personal income increased by 0.4% for the month of December, aligning with market expectations for 0.3%, which is also the number that we got in November. So 0.4 in December, 0.3 in November. So look, guys, we had 0.6 in November, 0.7 in December. On the spending front, it looks like our spending rate is going up twice as fast as our earnings are. And where's that money coming from? If you guessed the credit card, congratulations, you've been paying attention. Americans' credit card bills, $1 trillion, $88 billion, and rising. There's your stag, and there's your inflation. Last one of the day, second ship seized in the Baltic Sea cable damage investigation. Norwegian police said on Friday that they had seized and boarded a Norwegian ship with an all-Russian crew on suspicion of involvement in causing damage to telecommunications cables in the Baltic Sea, the second vessel to be named by investigators in the case. The Silver Dania cargo ship was seized at the request of Latvian authorities and with the help of Norway's Coast Guard. Police in the Norwegian city of Tromsø said it is suspected that the ship has been involved in serious damage to a fiber cable in the Baltic Sea between Latvia and Sweden, the police said. The Silver Dania's owner, the Silver Sea Shipping Group, denied that the vessel was involved in the undersea fiber optic cable damage, according to Norwegian broadcaster. Pay attention, guys. This sabotage of undersea infrastructure it's becoming increasingly normal. We've seen this several times in the South China Sea and now several times in the Baltic Sea as well. And I just want to say thank you. Wow, we got a lot of these this morning. Thank you so much to Gordon Guanu. What's going on, Gordon? He says the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is down to about 6 to 12 months. Everything is getting faster these days. Brother, if that ain't the truth, I mean, calling something a conspiracy theory or labeling it misinformation is the other thing. It's like daring it to be true in the 2020s. So, today's conspiracy theory is tomorrow's, oh shit, that really happened. Yeah. Don't worry, NVIDIA is selling chips into Singapore. That's just a conspiracy theory. Oh, this just in, the FBI is investigating. Go figure. Who could have seen that coming? Besides nobody. Thank you, Gordon. Appreciate the super chat, brother. And thank you to the beekeeper who says maybe Canada exports oil to us through Singapore. Now we're thinking outside the box, beekeeper. I like the way you think. And that is a very efficient, just think about it. The world is round. If you go the wrong way long enough, sooner or later, you'll get here. So, yeah, the oil's taking the scenic route. That's good. I like it. All right, beekeeper. I like the way you think. Thank you for supporting the channel. And thank you, M&J, for gifting 10 Nobody Special Finance memberships. M&J, you're awesome. Thank you so much for everything you do for the channel. Guys, if you got one of those memberships, if you're one of the new melon heads, be sure and say thank you to M&J. Uncle Fedster says, happy Friday, Jack. My last DigiKey bill, subtotal $945.19. Sales taxes, nothing. Tariffs, $77.06. So $1,022. So the tariffs, that's interesting. your last bill, the new tariffs haven't gone into place. So these are just the pre-existing tariffs, Uncle Fedster, or is DigiKey charging you for tariffs that don't exist yet? That might be worth a call to DigiKey. By the way, guys, DigiKey, that's like a industrial electronics parts supplier, if you don't know what that is. So, get used to numbers like that, guys. If that's what the existing tariffs are, and then we're talking about 25% starting tomorrow for Mexican and Canadian goods, and then that threat of 100% tariffs, we're talking that $1,000 bill is going to look something more like $1,900 if he follows through on that 100% tariff threat, Uncle Fedster. So thank you for that anecdata, sir, as well as the support of the channel. And my buddy, the Pasta Man, is here. He says, Schwab is asking clients to borrow their GME stocks. I saw that one. Look, I own a little bit of GameStop. I've owned it for quite a while. It's just kind of sitting there. I don't chase GameStop anymore, guys. Just sorry. There's a lot of headstones with should have mooned by now written on it or something like that. Look, I remain on this side of the apes. I wish that had gone well, but the fact is the people you're playing against can change the rules at any time they want to screw your trade to their benefit, which just means be careful with that one. If Schwab is asking clients to borrow their GME shares, that means Schwab is probably very close to just borrowing them anyway and then asking forgiveness later. I'm not saying that they're definitely going to do that, but that is the kind of crap that these guys have gotten away with, or they'll just take away the buy button again. So be careful in rigged markets. Thank you so much, Pasta Man, for supporting the channel. Thank you, ABD Spartan, for the super chat. I didn't see a message associated with that one, just being a swell guy. Thank you very much, my Greek hoplite melonhead. Appreciate the support of the channel. The Dragon of Revelation. That is a profound name. The Dragon of Revelation has become a new YouTube member. Welcome to the Melonheads, Dragon, sir. I appreciate that very much. ABD Spartan being cool again. Are you trying to get a message through, Spartan? I don't know if you're trying to get a message through and it's not coming. Mish, maybe you could shoot me a text if there's a message in there so I don't have to have a bunch of dead airtime scrolling through the chat to try to find it. But either way, thank you very much, ABD, for supporting the channel. And I've got Psyops says, thoughts on Intel. Well, let me tell you about Intel a little bit. Okay, ABD comes up. Mish just sent me a text. Thank you, Mish. My thoughts on Intel. The foundry idea, the tariffs is going to be very good for this idea of Intel wants to build these big chip fabs in the Southwest. I think those chip fabs are probably going to get built. I think the government's probably going to end up throwing more money their way. Intel has largely been the loser in the AI race. Now, one of the interesting things I've seen is that a lot of this DeepSeek stuff can run on local hardware. It doesn't need a lot of data center hardware. There's some debates about like this video that the guy who put out a video on a laptop running DeepSeek without even a discrete GPU. Some people are pointing out that was a distilled version, like basically like a really watered down version of DeepSeek. Yeah, it was. That's what that was. But it's also for what most people use these chatbots for. That's good enough unless you're doing like really high power compute heavy computations with it. So I think Intel might actually benefit from DeepSeek, because if we see a lot more people are going to be running some kind of AI tool locally, then you could see a surge of spending on consumer electronics like high-end PCs, high-end laptops, some of the smaller gaming GPUs, which could actually benefit NVIDIA. Things like, was it the 5090 is the newer version that they just came out with, their new Blackwell gaming GPU. So a company like Intel could benefit from that, but that's a long way off right now. So that's just me theorizing right now. For the moment, I don't own any Intel. I don't own any semiconductors. The whole space is, I don't want to say uninvestable. Be careful in that space when you've got big questions like this that are lingering. Thank you very much, Psyop, for supporting the channel. And there is the Dragon of Revelation once again. If silver is low, I want to see what Chase Bank does. Look, silver's at around 31, 32 bucks today, somewhere in between. I have a hard time. I like the shiny, by the way. I just love to flash my Murica silver bar. Look, silver is low by my standards. I think silver should be sharply higher than it is right now. I think, honestly, prices in the 50s are realistic. I mean, we haven't even come anywhere near our 2011 highs. Gold making new highs. Silver really lagging gold here, and I think silver needs to play catch up. Silver is probably being hurt by industrial slowdowns in Europe and demand elsewhere. Certainly the slowdown in solar is not going to be very good for silver. I've always been very skeptical of this big surge of silver demand that's going to come from the build out of solar panels, because solar panels just don't make that much power. So I was never really a big fan of that. But I do think silver is still very undervalued. I do think we'll see silver start to play catch up with gold here. Are we going to get up into the 50s? I would love to see it. Probably not in any kind of a hurry, though. So silver is a long game. Let's just put it that way. Avoid that leverage, guys. Avoid these fancy products in the 3X, 4X ETFs. That's where money goes to die. Thank you very much, the Dragon of Revelation, for supporting the channel. Thank you also for he whose name must not be spoken, lest you get my channel in trouble. He says, happy weekend, everybody. Happy weekend to you as well, sir. Oh, by the way, I see you've incorporated now. I see you've gone from Bagger to Bag Inc. So congratulations on your incorporation. Don't forget to file your beneficial ownership interest paperwork with FinCEN. Appreciate the good vibes, sir. ABD Spartan, there he is. Tech difference. How do we spend our melon coins? Look, melon coin is that's a big up and coming. No, did you guys know apparently there is a melon coin? I have nothing to do with it. I've been joking around about melon coin, just like my arbitrary token. Here's 100 million melon coin for a good comment. I say that all the time. And then I look, there actually is a melon coin. Somebody went and made it. I have nothing to do with it. I will never, shall never own any of it or have anything to do with it. So I guess I should do that. Where do you spend your melon coin? Well, anywhere melon coin is accepted. Where is that? I have no freaking idea. Probably all the same places Hawk Tua is accepted, or all the places Trump token is accepted, which is pretty much nowhere. Can't spend them anywhere. Thank you very much, ABD Spartan, for supporting the channel. The Cuban Enforcer, what's going on, sir? He says, it's odd I've seen no medical breakthroughs due to AI. I do think we're going to see AI's use in the medical field. I know there's a lot of money being spent on that. Now, here's what I'm afraid of. I think the first thing AI is going to be used for in medicine is going to be to automatically reject people's claims for medical treatments that they need. I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to go to the doctor and the doctor's going to be like, oh, doc, my pain is a 6.5 most days and it's a 9 when it's really bad. And the doctor's going to enter the queue and he says, nope, sorry. Our shitty chatbot says if your pain is ever below an 8, they don't have to pay for your treatment. That's what I think AI is going to do first. Maybe eventually it'll be used to speed up testing and things like that. I don't know enough about how medical testing is done, but it's a good bet that people will use it to make their research more efficient or speed things up. That being said, I think the insurance companies will use it to screw us first. Just call me cynical, but that's kind of how I see everything being used. Thank you very much, Cuban Enforcer, sir, for supporting the channel. And thank you, Break My Wallet Motorsports. Love that name. Crack spreads stunk in Q4 in the 16s. So bad oil earnings, bad refining margins, very much. By the way, guys, crack spreads, that's don't quote me on this one because I'm sure there are better definitions. Crack spread is basically how much money you make when you refine a barrel of oil, how much you make on the diesel, how much you make on the gasoline, how much you make on other distillates, right? It's basically the price difference between the various products you can make from a barrel of crude. Higher crack spreads, you might see things like more diesel getting made versus gasoline. So he's saying the crack spreads stunk here. Crack spreads are now bigger or higher in the 19s. I can't comment on the levels that they're currently at. I do know, however, that diesel prices have been pretty bad, and a lot of that has to do with what the Chinese have done. The Chinese have very quickly changed a lot of their heavy trucking from diesel to liquefied natural gas. And they've done it in pretty quick time, enough so that it is affecting those crack spreads and the margins the refiners are seeing. I don't know if more countries are going to go that route, but China did it very quickly. So it's a good bet we'll see at least other South Asian countries go that route as well. Thank you, Break My Wallet, sir, for supporting the channel. And thank you to the Cuban Enforcer for becoming a Melonhead member. Welcome to the Melonheads. And may God have mercy on your soul, sir. No, really, thank you. I appreciate the support very much. KR dropping the good vibes in the chat as well this morning. Thank you, KR, for supporting the channel. Nothing to say, just being swell. Let me just check real quick. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And the dragon is back again. Man, there be dragons in the chat this morning. Mr. BS has become Voldemort from Harry Potter. Yes, those we do not speak of. He whose name must remain unspoken. I said it once or twice before I realized what he was actually saying, and then I was like, you got me. You got me very good. Yes, we do not speak of Trace. Sorry, or we don't talk about Bruno here. We don't talk about Mr. Bag Inc. Thank you very much, Dragon. Thank you guys for all the support of the channel this morning. I appreciate that. Well, that very much. Thank you as well to my magnanimous melonheads on YouTube and Patreon. Hey, 2 p.m. this afternoon, guys. It's our weekly get-together on Zoom that we do every week. Links down below should you feel so inclined. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I love you guys. Everybody, don't forget that big, beautiful like button on the way out. It sure helps out with the algorithm. And until next time, live small and dream big.